So you and your children just finished grocery shopping, and on your way home when you noticed your EV is low on battery. You quickly drive to the nearest charging station to refill. Within seconds, sheer horror occurs as your Chinese-made EV burns, then explodes in a big ball of flames. This is exactly what happened on January 25, 2024, to a 53-year-old woman as she sat inside her BYD sedan, patiently waiting for it to charge at a filling station on Lam Hing Street in Hong Kong. The woman, startled but unharmed, quickly called the police for help and fled from her car. Firefighters rushed to the scene and had to struggle to finally extinguish the fire before anyone was hurt. But here's the chilling truth. This wasn't an isolated incident. No, it's one of many alarming examples that are happening all across China. As the smoke cleared and investigators pieced together the puzzle, one unsettling fact emerged. The culprit behind this terrifying ordeal was none other than the very heart of the vehicle itself, an electrical short circuit within the charging unit, a flaw lurking beneath the surface, waiting to strike at any moment. Although no one was hurt in this one incident, the message was clear. Chinese EVs are not safe. Picture this happening all over Europe. Now picture this happening in your local neighborhood in America or wherever you are from. As these dangerous vehicles flood the streets, they threaten not only their competitors' businesses, but also people's very lives. Chinese products are world famous for their poor quality. But with EVs, the risk is even more deadly. They don't just break down, they run over people, hit other cars, explode, burn, and kill. Imagine driving to the beach, school, or shopping mall, only to have your car burst into flames with you and your whole family inside. It gives the term family barbecue a whole new meaning. This video will expose the truth about these deadly cars, from faulty batteries to dangerous wiring, and now they are about to wipe away the traditional European, Japanese, Korean, and yes, American automobile industries. The Chinese have plans to flood their cheap, poorly made cars to every corner of the world, and this is a grave danger no one can afford to ignore. But yet, there's something we can do to stop this danger. So stick around until the end to find out our counterattack plan against this Chinese menace. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Let's rewind the clock and take a journey back to the origins of Chinese EVs. Imagine a bustling city in China, shrouded in a thick blanket of smog. The air is heavy, extremely toxic, and hard to breathe. People are coughing, children are wheezing, and millions are dropping like flies because of pollution. This was the reality that sparked the Chinese electric vehicle revolution. It wasn't just about cars, it was about a breath of fresh air, quite literally. The Chinese government, faced with mounting environmental challenges, took bold steps to promote electric vehicles. They offered incentives, subsidies, and even restricted the purchase of gasoline-powered cars in major cities. It was a push for a cleaner, greener future, a future powered by electricity instead of fossil fuels. This vision ignited a wave of innovation in China's automotive industry. Companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng stepped up to the challenge, creating sleek, futuristic electric vehicles that captured the world's attention. It was a moment of pride for China, a moment of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Unfortunately, things aren't as rosy as the Chinese want us to believe. The rapid growth of the Chinese electric vehicle market comes with lots of dangers. These are serious issues which you as the customers must be aware of in order to protect your money, your property, and your life. Before we talk about safety concerns, there's an equally important topic, that of power, economic power. You see, behind the shiny facades of these vehicles lies a darker truth. In recent years, Chinese spies have been on a mission to steal sensitive industrial secrets from American companies. Take, for example, the case of Xu Yanjun, who targeted an engineer at GE Aviation with knowledge of the company's jet engine composite fan blade technology. Xu, posing as an academic official, pressured the engineer to reveal valuable information about the jet engine. Fortunately, the FBI intervened before any major damage was done, but the threat remains very real. FBI Director Christopher Wray has warned that China is on a mission to ransack the intellectual property of Western companies. They're snooping on businesses everywhere, from small towns to big cities, from startup to Fortune 100 companies. And the consequences are dire. But how does this relate to Chinese electric vehicles, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Chinese companies are using these stolen secrets to produce their own products at a fraction of the cost. Let's say you spent billions over decades developing a revolutionary technology, only to have it be stolen and replicated by someone else. That's exactly what many Chinese companies have been doing to their American counterparts. For example, if you have to sell your American product for $100,000 to recoup your high investment for R&D, Some Chinese brand will sell the same thing with your stolen technology for only $70,000. You simply can't compete and win against cheaters. In fact, 1 in 5 North American-based companies has reported that Chinese companies have stolen their intellectual property just in 2018 alone. And it's not just small fries. Even tech giants like Apple and Tesla have fallen victim to these shameful Chinese crimes. Take, for example, the case of a former Chinese Apple engineer who betrayed and sold out his former employer by stealing their self-driving technology to give to a Chinese company, or the US electric vehicle maker Tesla, who found themselves in a legal battle with a Chinese chip designer and auto parts maker for stealing their secrets. These are not isolated incidents, but are part of a larger pattern of Chinese intellectual property theft that costs American companies between $225 to $600 billion per year, according to a 2019 FBI report. So, why should you care about all of this? When Chinese companies steal American industrial secrets, they're not just stealing from corporations, they're stealing from you. They're stealing your jobs, your livelihoods, and your future. And if we don't put a stop to it now, who knows what they'll steal next? Could it be the latest technology that powers your appliances or the medicine that saves your life? What about the next generation airplane? And even more frightening is the fact that the Chinese have been stealing our military secrets to use against us in a future war. The devastating impact of Chinese EVs on American companies is a tale of loss, desperation, and despair. With these vehicles flooding our market through factories in Mexico, American manufacturers are facing an existential threat, with factory closures and job losses looming on the horizon. The American Automotive Policy Council has sounded the alarm, calling Chinese EVs an extinction-level event for the American automotive sector. Chinese car manufacturers like BYD, aided by massive government subsidies, will dominate the American automobile landscape. And what will it cost you? The American dream, built on the backs of hard-working men and women, will be shattered by the influx of these cheap Chinese-made EVs. Did you hear that? The Chinese will take advantage of a loophole in American law and set up automobile plants in Mexico to produce cars without being hit by US tariffs. Then, they will invade all the main streets of America, Canada, and Mexico with EVs that can spy on millions of North American citizens before they explode due to poor safety standards. For those who want to know more about the dark, secretive world of Chinese espionage and the perils it poses to our American Republic, we have a special gift for you. In their excellent book, Chinese Communist Espionage, an Intelligence Primer, by Peter Mattis and Matthew Brazil, you can learn how ruthless and determined the Chinese are at infiltrating our society to not only steal our top secrets, but to destroy our very way of life. By clicking the link below, you can enjoy 30 days free of Audible membership, where you can listen to this book plus many other titles regarding this topic while you jog, commute to work, or cook. On the subject of safety, there is an avalanche of reports of EV batteries catching fire and of EVs malfunctioning at alarming rates. How did the dream of a green future turn into a nightmare of safety concerns? Here are some eyebrows-raising examples. In one shocking incident, a Model S manufactured by NIO bursts into flames during repairs in Xi'an, highlighting the dangers these vehicles pose to consumers. The automaker even confirmed on its Sina Weibo channel. And there are so many cases like this. Even the biggest brands like BYD are not immune, with their vehicles going up in flames with alarming frequency. On several occasions, something as simple as the EV scraping on a rock or moderately hitting an object is enough to combust it and kill everyone inside. And to add insult to injury, the best top-of-the-line Chinese EV, the Hongqi, which is an exact copy of Rolls-Royce, also is a death trap for your family. Even if they don't catch fire, something as simple as airbags failing to deploy in accidents can have serious consequences for passengers. Here we can see 3 cars that had hit each other. It looks like any ordinary collision, but upon closer inspection, something very sinister happened. Both the Tesla and Mercedes had their airbags inflated to protect the people inside, but the Chinese BYD did not. We wonder if the passengers in that BYD made it out alive. And it's not just cars. Electric bikes are also experiencing similar safety issues. When these bikes malfunction and catch fire, they pose a serious threat to the safety of riders and pedestrians alike. Chinese electric buses are also not exempt. When they explode, they take everything around with them, like this bus that caught fire on a university campus. The very factories where these EV batteries are produced explode and burn. Elsewhere in the world, these accidents would be major public relations disasters for their manufacturers. But in China, where the quality and safety of electric vehicles have long been called into question, it's just another normal day. Do you want another normal Chinese day in America, with dozens of EVs exploding all over the country on a daily basis, injuring and killing hundreds of Americans? And with nearly 70% of Chinese consumers later regretting their decision to buy Chinese new energy vehicles? This fact alone should tell us all we need to know about purchasing one. Don't do it. Instead, buy from a non-Chinese brand. There you have it, folks. Even Chinese people regret buying EVs made in their own country. And these issues recur even after repairs. The poor craftsmanship and frequent software failures of Chinese EVs make them ticking time bombs waiting to explode. As the Chinese electric vehicle market increases with growth, manufacturers are racing to produce ever more affordable cars, leading to compromises in quality which endanger people's lives. So far, we have seen the hardware dangers, but the software of Chinese EVs is equally dangerous. Security concerns related to potential hacking vulnerabilities, reliability, and quality issues are rampant. Buggy software has caused numerous problems for customers, with instances of cars failing to slow down and rear-ending other vehicles. Imagine being run over by one of these Chinese EVs because it fails to detect you walking your child across the street. A warning to those who live in cold climates and are thinking about buying a Chinese EV, you might want to seriously reconsider. The mileage per charge significantly goes down to as low as only 30% of the manufacturer's claim. That means you have to turn off the heater, radio, and other non-essentials to get to your destination. So bring plenty of blankets and wear extra clothing since you can't afford to turn on the heater. On another note, Chinese EV companies have been going bankrupt left and right. Companies like Byton have filed for bankruptcy after failing to bring their first model to production. These bankruptcies are just some examples of the many challenges faced by EV startups in China, where companies are pressured to introduce new features and products at lower prices. By 2024, over 90% of Chinese EV companies no longer exist. So it's clear that the Chinese EV market is facing a survival crisis. Now ask yourself these questions. If you buy an EV from a Chinese company, what would you do if this company goes belly up today? Where would you get the spare parts a year from now? Who would perform the yearly maintenance services? As a side note, there's another scary part. Thousands of unsold Chinese EVs are littering the landscape. In one of many sites in China, around 1,000 abandoned EVs are simply collecting dust. These cars were made when the government was giving out easy money, so lots of companies jumped in to manufacture EVs. Now these cars are just left in fields, polluting the environment and wasting resources. In February 2023, a Chinese spy balloon was detected hovering over Montana, conducting signal intelligence collection operations. This balloon, as it floated across our nation, transmitted valuable information back to Beijing. The very thought of a hostile foreign power surveilling our country from above is deeply unsettling with just one spy balloon. Now think about what would happen to our privacy and security when we have millions of Chinese EVs racing all over America. What sensitive info would they be collecting about our military, government, and industries? The White House is taking action, seeking to enact new regulations to limit the ability of Chinese automakers to sell these questionable vehicles in the US. But will these regulations be enough to protect us? And it's not just the auto industry. In fact, it's been reported that China can remotely disrupt US ports at the touch of a button. Likewise, China can also do the same thing to EVs located anywhere in the world. Because of this grave threat, the US government has launched an investigation about Beijing's ability to remotely trigger mayhem on American roads. In the words of one official, imagine if there were thousands or hundreds of thousands of Chinese connected vehicles on American roads that could be immediately and simultaneously disabled by somebody in Beijing. This is not mere speculation, but very real, for it is happening in China as we speak. Did you get all of that? Chinese car manufacturers have the ability to remotely turn off your EV with the touch of a button. What could be more scary than not making it to your grandma to try her homemade fruitcake because some guy in China hit the kill button? The solution to the threat posed by Chinese EVs is very clear and simple. Europe has already taken the lead by saying no to these dangerous vehicles. For once, the EU did something right, and it's time for us to follow suit and pressure our government officials to enact similar laws banning the import of Chinese EVs to our shores. This is not about politics. It's about common sense to protect the safety of our people and our way of life. Why should we ban Chinese electric vehicles? Because the Chinese Communist Party controls all major Chinese companies, and allowing them to have a massive stake in our vital economic sector would be a grave mistake. Chinese EVs would also give the CCP access to a treasure trove of Americans' personal data. The horrors of some Chinese guy knowing you have a medical condition and telling about it to your girlfriend. When you buy a car, you provide information on your address, driver's license, credit cards, and insurance. If you get a loan, the company can access your credit history, including mortgages, other loans, and additional credit cards. This is information we should not be handing over to a hostile foreign country like China. And now this is you after your girlfriend knows you are broke because the Chinese leaked your credit history. We cannot afford to let them gain access to our personal data, to our addresses, driver's licenses, credit cards, and insurance. Our privacy, our security, our very freedom are at stake. By banning Chinese electric vehicles, we're not just protecting ourselves. We're standing up for our values, for our sovereignty, for everything we hold dear. We're saying no to a future where our personal data is exploited for political gains, where our national security is compromised by foreign interests. Instead, we should be investing in American-made electric vehicles that prioritize safety, quality, and innovation. Vehicles that are built by our neighbors, by our friends, by fellow Americans who share our vision of a brighter and safer tomorrow. The threat posed by Chinese electric vehicles is real and deadly. We've seen how these vehicles have the potential to steal American industrial secrets, flood our markets with cheap products, compromise our national security, and threaten our very lives. But we can't sit back and let this happen. We must take action now to protect ourselves and our future. We must pressure our government officials to ban the import of these Chinese EVs and invest in American-made electric vehicles instead. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can say no to dangerous Chinese electric vehicles. We must protect our personal data, safeguard our national security, and preserve our planet for generations to come. Join us in opposing the entry of Chinese electric vehicles to our shores. Form local grassroots organizations to spread all the information we gave you in this video to your neighbors, friends, family members, co-workers, and all fellow Americans to shock them about this looming danger. Contact your government officials today and demand action. We have written a sample letter that you can copy and send to all your elected officials from city council members all the way to senator and president. You can also use it to call these government people. Now get organized and get going. Start winning. To show gratitude for this channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks, and may God bless.